Hello friends, new and old, welcome once again to the Egglord's Variety Show. I'm doing something today that if you're a real, true, original day one, and by day one I do mean day one, loyal fan of the Egglord's Variety Show, you might remember that back in the early days of this channel, under different names, under different, titles, under different pseudonyms and things like that, one of the things I used to do on this channel actually was action figure unboxings, and I haven't done one in quite some time. The videos are no longer up now, but basically the concept of the series was that I would open up action figures that I had purchased on camera, and I would kind of get acclimated with them on camera. So I got WWE Elite Series 89, Bobby Lashley and Damien Priest. So I'm going to open up the two of these action figures now and kind of get a little familiar with them and let you know what I think about them. I'm going to start with Bobby Lashley here. I know maybe it's a little dark. I like to keep things on the darker side on the channel, but just for the sake of this being something where you're kind of looking at the thing that I'm doing with a little more importance than normal, I'm gonna put the light on. This is my my desk lamp, and when I say desk, I mean piano stool, because that's what I use as a desk. This is my piano stool lamp. There's Bobby Lashley. The reason I'm opening up Bobby Lashley first is, whenever I have a couple of new action figures to open, say a day like today where I stopped at the store and they had a couple that I really wanted. But even if I have more, even if I especially indulge myself and I get 3 or 4 action figures in a given shopping trip, I prefer to open them in order of excitement, from most excited to least excited that I am about the action figure. And so I'm a little less excited about Bobby Lashley than I am about Damien Priest, because I already have a Bobby Lashley action figure. I do not have a Damien Priest action figure, so I'm a little less excited for Lashley for that reason. I'm going to try not to be too loud as I do this, but it is what it is. It will be what it will be. So yeah, I used to do something similar, but all the videos are no longer available. I don't know if I have them even saved anywhere, to be honest. I don't usually like to do this, but I'm going to grab a scissor, actually, with which to open the action figures, because the tape is a little bit different than normal. Mattel has recently, one thing that Mattel tends to do quite frequently is every couple of years, maybe every 20 series or so, they will update their packaging, and this is the first time I've had action figures from the Elite series with this type of packaging, and there's way more tape on it than there used to be with the previous packaging. So yeah, I like to open my figures. I think I finished this thought, but just in case, I'll wrap it up anyway, provide some closure to it. I prefer to open my action figures when I have more than one to open, in order of my excitement for the action figure. And I think the next thought that I had moved on to was I used to do something similar to this on my YouTube channel, but those videos are all no longer available. I don't think I even have them. I don't think I had any copies of them. And the reason I got rid of them and stopped doing it for a while was because I kind of was blatantly and shamelessly very, very derivative of other YouTube channels that made similar content. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, it's just not something that I felt the need to continue having up on the internet. So here's Bobby Lashley so far. I'm going to have to get him in the light so I can take a look at him here. Bobby Lashley so far is looking pretty good. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to move the lamp to be directly behind the camera so that we could maybe see things a little better. This is what the Egglord's Variety Show is all about. It's about learning on the fly. It's about not worrying too much about what exactly is going to happen, and I'm also I'm not going to do that because then I'll be upside down. It's about learning on the fly, It's about figuring things out as you go. It's about starting and not worrying about where you're going. Bobby Lashley looks pretty good. Bobby Lashley, Elite Series 89. I don't know what series the other Lashley that I have is from. I don't remember. Here's the WWE Championship that he comes with. I'm very much a fan of the new double jointed elbows that Mattel is putting on their figures recently. And if you're not an action figure person, if you're just a viewer of the channel and you're not super into action figures, I'll explain what that means in a little bit. It says the Hurt Business on the side of his trunks there, right? Hurt Business, yep. And then the other side of his trunks, it's got an image of him pointing his arms out. It would have been pretty cool if the action figure came with his pointy fingers with which he could do his signature pose, but it doesn't look like it. I'm going to grab some other action figures and some other things from the other side of the room, and I'm going to bring them over here because I want to compare some things. So in the meantime, here, enjoy. Maybe this could be the thumbnail, actually. I don't know. I don't know how to do thumbnails yet. It's something I want to figure out. And when I say I don't know how to do them, I don't know how to tell YouTube, hey, this is what I want as the thumbnail. It just kind of picks one for me. And it usually picks a pretty good one. But I would like to be able to do that on my own. So give me a second here. I'm just taking a look for my my other Bobby Lashley action figure. I mentioned I had another Bobby Lashley. There he is. Who else? Oh yeah, that's who else I wanted to get. I remember now. I'll be back with you in just a moment. I suppose while I look for what I'm looking for, I could explain to you the reason that I collect action figures. I know it's a bit of a niche hobby. I don't know if it's niche or niche, but whatever it is, it's that kind of hobby. It's not something that you really hear a ton of people talking about and stuff. And obviously, there's communities for it on YouTube and on the internet and stuff like that. And even in person, in some cases, there's collector groups and things like that. But it's not really something that you hear many people actively really talking about. And so the reason I collect action figures, I'm not really sure there is one, to be honest with you. I collected them as a kid, much like many people do. I never really grew out of it, though. A lot of people do. I did not. I think it's the coolest thing in the world to have little replicas of the characters that you see on TV and in movies, and you could pose them however you want. You know what I mean? If I want to pose if I want to be silly and pose Bobby Lashley with a tag team championship instead of the WWE championship, comedy genius. But if I'm feeling silly and I want to do that, I could do that. So there's Bobby Lashley. The comparison I want to make first is with the previous Elite Bobby Lashley that came out. I don't remember what series this one is from, but it looks like they used a very similar mold for the torso pieces. The torso pieces being the top and bottom over here, these two joints. So the torso looks very similar. Obviously, the newer one has longer tights, whereas the older one has the shorter trunks. No knee pads on the new one because he's got the tights. He doesn't need them. And we got a new kind of boots, too. I think I would say I definitely like this attire more. But I just wish there's something that seems a little off about it. And I can't put my finger on it exactly. I couldn't do it. Maybe it's the boots. Maybe the white of the boots doesn't really blend well. I'm not sure what it is. But I definitely, as far as generally, I like the look on Bobby Lashley and on the action figures as well of the longer tights on him rather than the shorter trunks like this. And it's definitely nice not to have the knee pads because the knee pads greatly hinder the articulation, the ability of the knee to bend, as far back as it could. This one could bend back really far, and this one could only bend back, without putting any strain on the figure. You could see the newer one bends back a little bit more. So what I was talking about before with the elbow joints, the double jointed elbows, is let's compare real quick. Let's take a look. So this Bobby Lashley, the new one, has double jointed elbows because there are two joints, there are 2 points of articulation at which the action figure's elbows could move, and one of them is a little stiff right now. But you could see it when the elbow is bent. There's the joint right over here, and then there's the second joint at the other side of the elbow. Whereas older action figures from WWE only had a single joint in the elbow. So you could see, how much this elbow bends, kind of just barely a 90-degree angle, versus this elbow, which bends in pretty acutely, significantly more than 90 degrees. So it gives you more posing possibilities, and it's just a better experience for you as the consumer. And I'm pretty sure the knees are double jointed. They are double jointed, and I can't tell you these knees because they have the knee pad over them, but I think these knees were only single jointed and not double jointed. So I got to compare the face sculpts as well. I realized I didn't do that. So here's the two face sculpts on them. I know this isn't the best setup per se, but we're working with what we got. Obviously, the old one is smiley and happy. He was a baby face back then, which in wrestling, if you're not a fan, means a good guy. A baby face basically is a superhero. And the new one has his heel turn growl, heel being a villain, his kind of signature scowl that he's got. That's pretty cool. The other comparisons that I wanted to make were I want to see the new Lashley, the new Hurt Business Lashley, the new heel Bobby Lashley. I wanted to see him next to some of his companions in the Hurt Business here. So I got MVP. I don't remember what series this MVP is from. This MVP has the double jointed elbows as well, which is really cool. Look pretty good together. The gold isn't the exact same shade of gold. The gold that, MVP's outfit has trim. The gold trim and the gold on Lashley. It's not exactly the same. But, it's similar enough to where they're not going to look all that strange together. And then in addition, I wanted to compare Shelton Benjamin as well. Another teammate in the Hurt Business. And these guys look pretty good together too. The gold is definitely more similar here. The gold's between Shelton and Lashley, it looks like. And then all of them together. I know there's lots of action figure YouTubers that have more elaborate setups than just kind of holding them in front of the camera with your hand. But, like I said, we're working with what we got. They look pretty cool together. And I do have Cedric Alexander, but I'm not sure exactly where he is. And the attire that the Cedric Alexander is wearing is not... It doesn't match with these guys. It's not a Hurt Business Cedric Alexander. And I suppose the MVP and the Shelton aren't Hurt Business either necessarily attires, but they look like they could be. If I'm not looking directly into the camera as much, I'm looking a little bit more at the viewfinder than at the camera. Just because when I was showing off the action figures to you, I was a little concerned with making sure that they looked good on camera. Normally when I'm sitting talking to the camera, I try to make a point to look at it. But when I'm showing you the figure, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the viewfinder, that the light is good and all that kind of stuff. So if I'm looking at if I'm looking at myself a little more than I'm looking at you, that's the reason for that. It'd be funny if YouTube made that the thumbnail, me pointing scissors at you. So we're going to get to opening up Damien Priest now. I'm a pretty big, well, actually, maybe not pretty big. I shouldn't say big because I haven't watched that much WWE lately. So just by virtue of not watching the product, I shouldn't really say I'm a big fan of anyone that wrestles there, even though there's quite a few performers that I really, really enjoy watching. But it feels a little ingenuine to say I'm a big fan when I don't even really watch the product that much anymore. But I've quite enjoyed a lot of Damien Priest. I'll say that. I've quite enjoyed a lot of him that I've seen. And this action figure, I've watched some reviews on it, and I've seen some pictures of it, and I think it just looks incredible, and I'm very excited to have my hands on it. A message this late at night. Text message this late at night, too. Oh, wow. It's a Google Chrome link somebody sent me. Someone sent me a Google Chrome link. It's Alexis Van Steenberg 280 at hotmail.com. I kid you not, sent me a link, and I'm not going to click it. I got a message the other day, you'd never believe it. You never believe how lucky I got. This woman, she was single and she lived in my area, and she happened to be in the mood, and she chose to reach out to me of all the strangers she could have reached out to. So, you know, pretty lucky night for me. I'm obviously joking. It was spam. That was spam. So here's Damien Priest so far. He comes with 3 sets of hands. Looks like the grippy hands, or he's got a pair of grippy hands, a pair of fisted hands, and a pair of hey, how are you hands. So I'm going to go ahead and get the hands out of the packaging, and then I'm going to get Mr. Priest out of the packaging as well. He also comes with a vest, it looks like, that he wears to the ring before he wrestles. The hands are always a little bit of a pain. Oh, I didn't compare before I move on to that. Wow, this is actually a pretty stark contrast here. So this is the new WWE Championship belt that came with Bobby Lashley. And this is the old one that I had. I couldn't even tell you who. This one came with the Dean Ambrose, the Money in the Bank Dean Ambrose. Now, John Moxley. You can see the top one. I'm not sure if you can see it, actually. I'll try to get the light on it a little. But the top one, the new one, is significantly more of a saturated gold color than the bottom one. People are probably watching this right now being like, dude, what the... I almost cursed there. I try not to curse on this channel, fun as it may be sometimes. But yeah, so the top one is clearly a more saturated gold than the bottom, and it might just be because the old one is a couple years old and the new one is fresh out of the package. Ugh. But yeah, we're going to open up Damien Priest now and see what he's like. It was a beautiful day outside today. I got out a little later in the day, because I was feeling a little down and a little sick at the beginning of the day. But I got out for a little bit, and I'm very happy I did, because it was really quite nice today. Here in New York City, we've had a string of a couple weeks worth of pretty cold days. Maybe it's not a couple weeks, but you know, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe a little more. But it's been really cold for a while. You know, in the high 30s and 40s, which I know for some people isn't that cold. But the reason that it felt maybe colder than it was because it was really seeming like winter was over and spring was here, and then all of a sudden it goes back down and the temperature drops again significantly. But today was the first day in a while, you know, in a couple weeks maybe, that it was, on the nicer side again. It was pushing 70 today. Excuse me, I'm drinking too much water here. Today was the first day in a while that it was kind of near the 70-degree range again. I think it was over 70 at some points. Wow. This face sculpt is incredible. The detail, I'm going to show you everything in a second. I'm just taking a look myself for now. The detail on the outfit is incredible. The detail on the tattoos looks wonderful. This is very cool. I'm going to show Damien off to you a little bit. So before I do that, before I take his vest off of him, here he is in the vest. Very cool looking. If I have one complaint, it's that looks a little strange that he's got I don't know how I like the black and the purple together. Not that black and purple are colors that don't go together, but there's just so much purple on the pants and then just a cut to the plain black on top. You know, it might have looked a little sillier if he had purple and then purple up here too. But something about it just seems a little bit strange to me. But I'm going to get that off of him now, and I'm going to show you his vest a little more closer, because I'm seeing a lot to be impressed about with this action figure so far. So I'll show you the vest in a little more detail here. I can't put it too close because then I lose some of the light, or I could just put the light. Oh, look at that. Now we're legit. Now we're a YouTuber. So here's his vest. I just got to get it to focus, then I'm a YouTuber. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to know how to do that, but there's a lot of detail in here. There's seams and wrinkles. There's zippers, you know what I mean? There's a zipper pocket right there. zipper pocket right there. This looks like someone sent an actual vest through the Willy Wonka machine that makes everything tiny, the television machine, because this is very impressive. It even has the writing inside that a real vest has. That's a joke. That's just the copyright information for the toy. But yeah, the shoulder pads are greatly detailed. It's a very impressive vest. He comes with these hands as well, and all the hands include the little band around the middle finger that he wears. Pretty cool. And wow, here's taking a look at the action figure himself. The necklace, I don't know if it's supposed to come off or not. The head probably comes off pretty easy. A lot of action figure heads come off pretty easy these days, not only wrestling, but in general, because swappable heads is a pretty big deal. You know, like let's say you have a Damien Priest figure and then you put 3 heads in, one that looks like this, one that's screaming and angry, and then maybe one that's laughing or just a neutral face. So a lot of heads can manually come off now. But let's take a look at this here. Look at him. Oh, I gotta get it to focus again. We'll figure it out. We'll get it someday. But for now, just the expression is very lifelike. It's just incredible. I find with a lot of the real VFX technology, and if you're unfamiliar, I think it's called Real Effects or Real VFX or something. But basically what a lot of action figure faces look like now when they're based on real people is they kind of just scan the actor's face and then slap it onto the face of the figure without much regard to paint and texture and stuff like that. And it doesn't look very lifelike usually, especially the eyes, but this action figure really does. It doesn't suffer from that problem. The eyes look pretty lifelike, pretty animated and pretty realistic. The whole I think they nailed the head sculpt. Hair looks good. The hair looks nice. It looks natural, you know. The tattoo detail is very nice. Very nice detail on his tattoos there. The chest, the arms. We'll take the head off so you can get a look at the tattoos on the back. Straighten out the back. That's one thing that's a little bit of a shame, is that if you crunch him all the way forward, you lose a little bit of the tattoo. Some action figures, they'll put the tattoo design, or whatever design it happens to be, all the way up the joint, so that no matter how far you bend it or try to articulate it, you don't lose out on any of the design. But that's really, really nice. Tattoo detail is phenomenal. Good body choice, I would say. I would say this, you know, as far as musculature and definition and stuff, this was a pretty good choice of body. There's really only like 5 or 6 different bodies for wrestling action figures, and they put in whichever one I guess they feel is most appropriate for that particular character. This one is a good choice. Sometimes they don't make good choices. They make them too jacked or not jacked enough. This one I think is pretty good. Take a look at the detail on the wristbands as well. It's textured. It's very textured. I can get that to focus. Come on. I really want to show you this. Maybe not. You could see it a little bit, I suppose, but it's very textured. It's got rivets in it. It looks like actual fabric. It's got the bands going around the wristbands as well. They turn, so they do seem to be removable. The hands are definitely swappable, so if you were to want to take the wristbands off for any reason, you could do that. And I guess maybe they do look a little bit bulky, the wristbands. I'll put it on again so you could see what I'm talking about. I'll show you firsthand. They do look a little bit bulky, you know. They look kind of more like gauntlets, if anything. And, you know, compare that to... let me find a good example here. Compare that to, like, this Bobby Lashley. This is the older Bobby Lashley that I used for comparison's sake, and he's coming in handy again. But just compare the two. You know, you see how on the Bobby Lashley it's painted on, and on the Damien Priest it's not. And I'm not saying they should have painted it on, because I think it's pretty cool that they went with the actual, you know, real goods route rather than the painting it on route. But, you know, Bobby Lashley's do look a little bit smoother, whereas Damien Priest's look a little bit chunky and a tiny bit awkward. But, you know, when the rest of the figure is just beautiful, especially when you put the vest on him, there's so much more to look at than that I don't think that's going to be something that's really too big of a deal here. There's texturing on the attire. you really don't usually get this level of detail with wrestling action figures. The belt is sculpted, the crotch piece is sculpted right here. His butt pocket texture is sculpted, everything is sculpted, and you really don't see a level of detail this high too often. With wrestling figures, you just don't, and I guess with the quantity of them they have to produce and all the different characters, wrestling characters they have to produce, I guess it kind of makes sense, but this is really remarkable. This is very, very cool. There's Damien Priest. And I should have got this while I was over there before, but I would like to show off Mr. Priest with the United States Championship belt, which I believe is the belt that he currently holds, or he might have lost. No, Finn Balor won it from him. But for a long time, Damien Priest was the WWE United States Champion, which is kind of one of the mid-tier secondary championships. And this is an old design. He never held this particular design of the belt. The design was updated in between the time this was released and he won the belt. So he never held this particular belt, but just to get the spirit of it, there he is with the United States Championship. He looks really good with it. Even this version of the belt, it looks really good on him. We're going to put it on his waist and see how that looks. I'm really, really, really impressed with this action figure. Let me straighten it out a little bit. Yeah, that's legit. That's legit. This guy looks pretty good. I'm going to put the vest on him as well. See what he looks like with the vest and the belt and everything. See how he looks with all his accoutrements on him, and a little more with the championship belt as well. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm very impressed with Mr. Priest here. I'm going to take the belt off of him now, just to kind of restore him to factory settings, if you will. I got to put the necklace on too. Excuse me, I don't know why my throat is behaving so weirdly tonight. I'm drinking tons of water. That could be it. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say for these action figures. And I'm going to do three more things, I suppose, before we close out the video. The first thing is I want to test out my thumbnail theory, because I have a theory that, what I was talking about before, that YouTube will scan your video and automatically find what it thinks is the best thumbnail for you. So I'm going to try something out now. I'm going to pose with the two figures in thumbnail fashion, and I'm going to see if YouTube kind of picks up on that. Hey, this is, you know what I mean? This is supposed to be the thumbnail. So I'm going to give that a try here. This looks pretty thumbnailish, I suppose, right? Or no, I have to put text on the thumbnail, but I don't know how to put text or anything. I do know how to do it, but I'm not going to. I try to keep these videos as under-edited as possible. So I'm not going to throw text on the screen and do anything like that. I have to make a goofy face. They always put They always look like the most surprised people in the world in YouTube thumbnails, or the happiest, or the angriest, or whatever the particular video is supposed to be. We'll hold that for a bit, and if YouTube, we'll do this little experiment together. Viewers, we will know, based on whether or not the thumbnail of the video is anything I just did, we will know whether or not YouTube does what I kind of suspect it does and goes through the video and kind of picks a thumbnail. Because the last couple of videos I've uploaded on the channel, it picked a thumbnail that was a pretty good thumbnail. If you're interested in either of the last two videos I posted, one of them was me playing Bee Simulator for the first time. The other one was me giving a movie idea or a franchise idea that I have, pitching it, as if to a movie studio. Concept being, what if basically Toy Story except lighter story, where lighters come to life rather than toys when no one's around. So if you can go check out either of those videos. What were the other things I wanted to do? One of them was the thumbnail. One of them was ratings. That's the other thing. I'm going to try to implement a rating system here whenever I wouldn't call this a review per se. It's more like kind of an unboxing and just sharing my experience of these figures with you. But I suppose it does have some kind of critical quality to it. I am doing some kind of assessment of them, even if it's not a formal review per se. There is some kind of assessment. This would be a pretty cool thumbnail too, actually. There is some kind of assessment happening. So I am going to, whenever I do assessments or critiques, reviews, whatever you want to call it, I'll give stuff scores. It's fun. It doesn't mean anything. It's arbitrary numbers, and it's just whatever feels right in the moment. Not any kind of detailed rating system or anything like that. But for these two, Bobby Lashley, I think I'm feeling an 8.3 out of 10 for Bobby Lashley. It's a really cool figure. It's got a great new head sculpt. Attire, whatever it is, but it looks good. The glove looks good. The gold looks good. Everything looks good. Nice new head sculpt. But what holds it back from being a figure that is higher on the rating scale, which it should be, because this is, a pretty iconic version of the character. Probably the best the character has ever been. Awesome to have a figure of it. It's posable. It feels good in the hand. It's got the double jointed knees and elbows. But what prevents it from being higher than an 8.3 for me is the fact that he comes with very little in the way of accessories. We've got this championship belt, and that's really about it. Bobby Lashley isn't a guy with crazy elaborate entrance gear and jackets and vests and horns, you know what I mean, like other characters might be. So I understand, there's not really too much you could package with him. But, he didn't come with anything other than the belt. He could have came with maybe a head sculpt or a screaming head sculpt versus this regular one, an additional one. He could have come with hands. He could have come with fisted hands. He could have come with, I'm gonna wave to you and do jazz hands like Damien Priest came with here. But he doesn't come with any of that, and it's a real shame because if he did, I think it bumped up my score quite a bit. So we're gonna go 8.3 on Bobby Lashley, and for Damien Priest, I am very impressed with Damien Priest. But I don't know if I'm impressed enough to go a perfect score, to go a perfect 10 out of 10. I'm definitely impressed enough to say this is probably one of the coolest wrestling action figures that I have personally purchased in quite a while. I definitely feel confident enough to say that. I feel confident enough to say that the amount of sculpt work and detail, the likeness in the face, the realisticness of the cloth and the outfits, how everything, rather than just being painted on, is detailed in there and sculpted, and it looks wonderful. Purple isn't a color that you see that often in wrestling figures. There's not a ton of wrestlers that wear purple, so just by the nature of the color alone, it's going to really stand out on the shelf. It's a rock star of a figure, much like Damien Priest is. But all that being said, I don't know if it's giving me I don't know if I'm getting inspired to give it a perfect 10 out of 10. So that being said, for Damien Priest, I think I'm going to go for a 9.68 out of 10. 9.68 out of 10 for Damien Priest. I can't tell you what exactly it is that is preventing him from being a 10. There's a couple of minor things like the bracelets, the gauntlets being a little bulky, and the back tattoo not having the tattoo go all the way in the joint so you can see it when it bends a little bit. Those really don't detract too much from my enjoyment of the figure. But there's something, I can't put my tongue on it, but in your heart when you're holding an action figure, and it's a 10 out of 10, and this one really just isn't, and that's fine. Like I said, it really is, I don't mean to downplay it or exaggerate either, but this action figure really is kind of one of the best wrestling action figures that I've opened and held and experienced in a long time, as probably not since the Buddy Murphy Elite was pretty good, but I think this is probably even better than the Buddy Murphy Elite. I got the Rob Van Dam Elite recently. That was pretty good. This is the best action figure I've opened that is wrestling related in a long time. A long time, possibly as long as, as far back. I don't remember the last time I held a figure and immediately thought to myself, wow, this thing is incredible. But Damien Priest is very good. Just an excellent, absolute home run of an action figure. So I said I had 3 things left to do. One of them was the thumbnail test, which we did. The second one was ratings, which we did. And so with all those things out of the way, there's only one thing left to do. And that one thing left, well, first of all, is to shut the light. Now that we're not taking a close-up look at the action figures anymore. And get my guitar out and play us out of here. If you watch this whole video, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. Something that would mean a tremendous amount to me is if you were able to hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. I don't really know what it does specifically, but a lot of YouTubers say that you do it and it helps them out in some way, pushes the algorithm, does something positive. So if you enjoyed the video and if you feel like supporting me a little bit, it costs you nothing, takes a second, you can click the like button. While you're down there, you can click the subscribe button as well. The subscribe button, what that'll do is alert you to any new videos that I post. Whenever you whenever I upload new content, you'll see on your page, you know, Sam Eglowitz or the Eglowitz Variety Show, whatever I'm called on here, has uploaded a new video. And it's a great way to support me as well. I have 36 subscribers right now, which is pretty cool. I gained, I think, about 15, 20 subscribers in the last year or so, which is pretty cool. And even less than that, the last 6 months or so, which is really cool. So thank you for being here. I know a lot of people are probably here for the music, you know, for the Lifelines tape and stuff, but I hope you stick around for this too. What else do I have to say? If you want to keep in touch with me, I'll put all my social medias in the description. You could send me a message or an email or a smoke signal or something. What else? I think that's it. I think all that's left to do is the little outro song. In case you're new here, we're still figuring out the outro song, and we're kind of just improvising different things for the outro song. Every video for now until we figure out, you know, what we're going to do. The intro song we know what that's going to be. But the outro song, we're figuring things out together, and that's what we do here on this channel, on the Eglowitz Variety Show. Leave a comment, too. That's the other thing. Please and thank you. I don't know when the next video is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be or when. I do know where. It'll be on YouTube, and you could see it by subscribing. And I think that's about it. Please leave a comment, and that's it. This has been the Eglowitz Variety Show. Don't ask what it's about, cause I still don't know. I just do whatever I feel like doing. No, that's the same line from the intro, but it's okay because now I'm gonna go probably, hopefully, to sleep because I have an early morning tomorrow and it's a little late.